Wir wollen jetzt noch ein bisschen über den Tellerrand hinaus gucken, und zwar in Richtung Europa, in Richtung Serbien. Denn auch dort spielt die Digitalisierung natürlich eine große Rolle. Der nächste Speaker leitet die Abteilung für IT und Wirtschaft im Team des Ministerpräsidenten und erläutert uns in einem Video seine digitale Agenda. Please welcome Nenad Paunovic.
Hello everyone, greetings from the government of Serbia. Please, at the very beginning, let me convey best regards from Serbian Prime Minister, Mrs. Ana Brnabić, who unfortunately could not be with you today, but she was on Bitcom in Berlin 2 years ago, and she's very well acquainted how great this conference is. Although this conference is mainly about e-government and smart cities and things like that, I will talk about it most of the speech. But please let me at the very beginning give you a brief overview of the broader context and where e-government fits into the broader digital agenda of Serbia. So when Ana Brnabić became Prime Minister of Serbia back in June 2017, she declared that digitalization is the government's priority #1. Digitalization in that regard boils down to 3 main pillars: digital economy, digital education, and e-government or digital government. In digital economy, during the past 4 years, we've embarked on many things to support digital and knowledge-based economy, but for this purpose, very purpose, please let me emphasize the broader tax and legal revolution that we really started in this regard to support those kinds of industries, where we introduced several very important tax incentives, including accelerated R&D deduction, IP box, tax incentive for employment repats and foreigners, and many others. In legal regard, we changed law on IP laws, trade laws, corporate law, immigration laws, and many other laws, including introduction of a very new law on digital assets. So Serbia was among the first countries in Europe that has the law on digital assets. So the result of all those endeavors where we really try to support Serbian digital and knowledge-based economy is that ICT export from Serbia is the largest net exporting industry of the country today, and it grows 25% annually. It even grows at that rate in 2021, so this year the growth rate is back where it was before the COVID crisis. In digital education, we have introduced back in 2017 coding as the mandatory subject in the 5th grade of elementary school. So since 5th grade all the way to the 8th grade, kids are learning Scratch, Python, Pygame, and Jupyter. Effectively, this year, this was the first year where the whole generation came out of the elementary school having 4 years of coding in their hands. We really can't wait to see the generation in a few years from now entering the workforce of Serbia. There are also courses for talented IT kids in secondary schools, and we also strengthened significantly STEM schools of business universities in Serbia. We introduced digital textbooks and digital content as the main pillar of digital education back in 2017, and effectively by the end of this year we will digitize education in Serbia, and by the end of next year every classroom in Serbia will have all the infrastructure, teachers trained, and all the kids having digital textbooks in Serbia. The result of that is that last year when COVID crisis began, Serbian schooling system did not lose a day of education, because over the weekend, literally over the weekend, we were able to transform education from classroom-based to digital-based, and to really bring the school year to its end in a very, very normal way regarding the circumstances. In digital government, we see e-government as the best and most efficient way for open and transparent government, close to the citizens 24/7, and the government without corruption. Because when the citizens interact with the machine, with software services, then a space for corruption is very low. We have introduced many services since then, but the main basis for that was that all data needs to be digitized, all data needs to be connected, and all data needs to be able to flow between one service to the other. So we digitize data, and we introduced the principle that the citizen cannot be a courier to the government from one counter to the other, but the government and governmental institutions need to exchange all the data that they have among themselves. And once the government has some data, then the government has it. So there is no need for the citizen to take the data on a piece of paper from one counter to the next. In that way, up until now, during those 4 years, we have saved over 230 million sheets of paper. That's basically a forest. 100 million liters of water, and 8,000 megawatt hours of electricity. This is why we also see e-government as one important tool in the Serbian green agenda and the Serbian way towards sustainability, because e-governments add to efficiency and saves trees, saves water, saves electricity. One of the best examples of where we are now in terms of e-government is the government software solution for immunization against COVID-19. So we started working on that in the mid last year, actually. And by the end of this year, when the first vaccines were available, we were able to extremely efficiently organize people's interest for the vaccination, calling them for the vaccination, and all the logistics regarding vaccinations. As you know, some of the vaccines demand cold chain and needs to be stored in extremely low temperatures. And once you open a bottle of vaccines, you need to have 6 people for vaccination, etc., etc. So it's extremely complex logistics, but we were able, due to the software solution empowered by some AI, to organize that in a flawless, super efficient manner that was actually recognized by global media outlets like CNN, Forbes, The Economist, and many others, BBC, etc. So this was really the prime example of how efficient e-government can bring value to citizens in times where it's needing the most. We also have some very world-class services, like, for instance, e-baby, where you can register a newborn electronically within the hospital in 10 minutes with no need to go on numerous counters within multiple days to register a newborn in Serbia. Because of all those things, Serbia was recognized by OECD at the beginning of the crisis as among top 5 countries in the world in the innovativeness of our response to COVID-19. All of that needs to be enabled by the infrastructure. This is why the government is investing a lot in broadband. We want to bring broadband to even rural areas. And we recently, at the end of last year, opened a state-of-the-art, state-owned data center on Tier 4 with all the electricity supply, telecommunication supply, government security, etc. And this is actually why IBM, Microsoft, Oracle, VMware, Huawei are storing their data there, because our state-owned data center is open for business for commercial use. And this is also an invitation for all the potential users of data center services to let us know and get some interest and get some information about the data center, because it's also open for commercial usage. On the basis of that, e-government and infrastructure and data center, we want to further develop e-government services or electronic services in local municipalities, when we also want all data of local municipalities to be open, transparent, connected, so that local services can be further developed for the citizens, for the local businesses, by the government, but also by the startup community, by our IT companies, that with access to proper data, properly stored, can really bring some value-add solutions. We also have a national open data portal. When we open the government data, which is also mandatory by law, so that all the kinds of companies can create all kinds of valuable solutions to our citizens and our businesses. I'd like to finish this with a few words about AI, because we see artificial intelligence as the horizontal infrastructural layer that we really need to excel in order to be able to bring e-government solutions for the future. So we are now in the process of procurement. We actually procured, but we are waiting for it to get to the state data center. The supercomputer, we will have a supercomputer. We have government's cloud services. And we want to enable, we have AI platforms as well, so we want to enable academia, startups, government to use AI services to improve their work. One good example might be the electricity company in Serbia that uses AI to predict some very complex things about electricity, so they have very significant savings using it. We are using AI in judiciary system, in tax, Serbian tax office, and in more and more systems and government institutions when we can really bring electronic services in Serbia to the next level. One of the main focus, and I will finish with that, for the future will be AI and bioinformatics, where we advanced of genetics and precision medicine. There is a great need for computational power, for machine learning, etc. So we're really focusing a lot in that regard as well, which is also another area of basically digital government, which is digital healthcare. By the end of this year, we are expecting the government to adopt the strategy for digital healthcare, and we really hope to be one of the leaders in the world in that area as well. So thank you very much. Once again, regards from the Prime Minister Brnabić, and I really wish you a great rest of the conference. Thank you very much.
Nenad Paunovic war das aus Serbien. Vielen, vielen Dank für diesen Beitrag.